Alright, so we're going to continue work on our short rails. On this particular operation, we're going to go ahead and cut the groove that's going to hold the spindles. Let's take a look at where we're at right now. Okay, we have already cut the tenons, okay, and we have cut the groove that's going to accept the bottom. What we're going to do today is cut the groove that will accept the spindles. So our spindles we're going to make later are going to fit down inside of that groove and add a little pizzazz to our table. Give it something a little bit showy. So this groove is going to end up being 3/8 of an inch wide. We set up 2 saw blades, which gets us to 1/4 of an inch wide. The reason we're going to do this is we want the groove that's going to hold these spindles to be perfectly centered on the thickness of our board. So what we're going to end up doing, okay, is cutting and then flipping the board 180 degrees and cutting again. What that will do for us is get the board or the groove to the correct width, and it will also center the board perfectly, or the groove perfectly, on our board. So like before, I've marked up my pieces. Okay, on the groove, remember, I marked the inside face and I marked the top edge of my lower short rails. On the upper short rails, I have marked the lower edge of my pieces, so that when these go together in the table, okay, I'll have a groove here and a groove here. When this goes in, the 2 grooves will face each other and the spindle will fit in between those 2 rails. So let's set up and get ready to cut a test cut here on one of our rails. I'm going to use the tenon to kind of eyeball center. So I'm going to move the fence over so that the cut is occurring almost exactly centered on my workpiece. I'm not worried about numbers right now. I'm going to cut a test piece and we're going to check the width, okay, with a ruler. So what I'm going to do, make sure my X is down on the table. It doesn't matter which face is in, okay, but the X must be down. And I'm going to run this over. I'm going to flip it 180 degrees and I'm going to run it again. What that does is, again, it centers the groove and it will widen it slightly. I'm going to adjust the fence after my first pass to try and get that groove to a finish width of 3/8 of an inch. And that's obviously not 3/8 of an inch, okay, but it is centered on my board. So what I'm going to do is measure, and that says we're just short of 1/4. And I want this to be 3/8. So I'm going to bump the fence slightly, about 1/16 of an inch away, and I'm going to recut this. And I'm going to continue until I get those exactly 3/8 of an inch wide. Okay, I got a little bit more to go. The other thing I can do to check is take some spindle material and see if it will fit. That's a little too snug for what we're doing. So I'm going to sneak this out just a tiny bit more. Okay, and that should be just enough or good enough for what we're doing here. Okay, so now our spindles have a groove to go ahead and fit. Now that I like this setup, I'm going to go ahead and cut all 4 of my rails, okay, making sure that I have the top edge or the X or marked edge down on the table. Again, we're going to cut, flip it, cut. So X down. So all of my rails now have slots that my spindles will fit in. Okay, if I take my lower short rail, the one that has the groove, okay, and I take an upper short rail, you can see that when they go into the table assembly, these grooves will be opposite one another and they will hold the spindles in place.